Oh my God! Are you seriously wearing that to the mall? Did you get dressed in the dark or something? 15-year-old Tiffany Chen stood in the middle of the food court, phone held high, recording a woman who was simply trying to eat lunch in peace. The woman, probably in her mid-30s, wore simple jeans and a plain jacket, her brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked completely ordinary, which, to Tiffany, made her the perfect target. Look at those shoes. Are those from, 10 years ago? Girl, have you never heard of fashion? Tiffany's three friends giggled behind her, encouraging the cruelty. They were all dressed in expensive athleisure wear, carrying designer bags, living off their parents' money, and existing to make content for their social media accounts. And content, in their world, meant humiliating random strangers for views and likes. The woman looked up from her sandwich, her expression unreadable. She didn't look angry or embarrassed. She just looked tired. Hey, I'm talking to you! Tiffany moved closer, her phone camera still recording. Don't you have anything to say, or are you just going to sit there looking like a total loser? One of Tiffany's friends, a girl named Ashley, chimed in. Maybe she can't afford better clothes. Look at her. She probably shops at thrift stores. The woman set down her sandwich carefully, wiped her hands on a napkin, and stood up. She was taller than Tiffany expected, and something about the way she moved made Tiffany take an involuntary step backward. Girls, I'm going to give you one chance to walk away and delete that video. Her voice was calm, professional even, but carried an authority that made Tiffany's stomach flip. Still, Tiffany had an audience. Her live stream had over 2,000 viewers. She couldn't back down now. Or what? You'll call the manager? We have a right to be here. This is a public place. I can record whatever I want. The woman's expression didn't change. Actually, this mall is private property, but that's not the point. The point is that you're harassing a stranger for entertainment. That's not just mean. It's potentially illegal, depending on how far you take it. Tiffany laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. Illegal? Whatever. You're not a cop. You can't tell us what to do. Right, guys? Her friends nodded, though they seemed less certain now. Something about this woman was off. She wasn't reacting the way their usual targets did. Most people got flustered or angry or tried to hide. This woman just stood there, completely composed, watching them like she was studying specimens under a microscope. You're right, the woman said calmly. I'm not a cop. Tiffany smirked, feeling victorious. Then sit down and finish your sad little lunch while I'm an FBI agent. The words hung in the air like a bomb. Tiffany's smirk faltered. Her friends went silent. Even the comments on her live stream seemed to pause. You're lying, Tiffany said, but her voice lacked its earlier confidence. You don't look like an FBI agent. What exactly does an FBI agent look like? The woman reached into her jacket pocket slowly, deliberately. She pulled out a leather wallet and flipped it open, revealing a gold badge and official identification. Special Agent Rebecca Martinez, Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you just committed several potential violations on a live stream with over 2,000 witnesses. Tiffany felt her blood run cold. She looked at her phone screen. The comments were exploding now. People were screaming at her to apologize, to run, to stop being stupid. Her viewer count was skyrocketing as people shared the stream, but not for the reasons she wanted. I didn't know. Agent Martinez held up her hand. Let me explain something to you, Tiffany. Yes, I know your name. It's displayed on your stream. Right now, you're broadcasting to thousands of people. You've just harassed a federal agent, recorded her without permission for commercial purposes, and depending on what you say next, you could be looking at charges ranging from harassment to interfering with a federal officer. But you're just eating lunch. You're not, working or anything. FBI agents are always working. We don't clock out. And even if I was just a regular person, what you're doing is still wrong. You're bullying a stranger for content. You're teaching your followers that it's okay to mock and degrade people for entertainment. One of Tiffany's friends, a girl named Morgan, started backing away. Tiffany, maybe we should go. Stay right there, Agent Martinez said, her voice sharp. All of you, sit down. It wasn't a request. The three friends immediately sat at a nearby table. Tiffany remained standing, her phone still recording, her hand shaking. Turn off the stream, Agent Martinez said. I don't have to. This is public. First Amendment. Free speech. Tiffany tried to sound confident, but her voice cracked. Agent. Martinez's expression hardened. The First Amendment protects your right to speak. It doesn't protect harassment, defamation, or creating a hostile environment. Right now, with your platform and your actions, you're crossing legal lines. And the fact that you're a minor doesn't shield you from consequences. It just means your parents will be involved in the legal proceedings. Tiffany's stomach dropped. Her parents. Her mother was a corporate lawyer. Her father was a surgeon. Both were extremely strict about behavior and reputation. If they found out about this, if there were legal consequences, she was beyond grounded. She was destroyed. Please, Tiffany whispered, finally lowering her phone. Please don't tell my parents. That's not my decision anymore. You made this public. You broadcast it to thousands of people. The mall security has already been alerted. They're reviewing footage now. And based on your stream history, Agent Martinez pulled out her own phone, showing Tiffany's Pi account. This isn't your first time harassing strangers. You have an entire series called Fashion Victims, where you mock people's clothing choices. She scrolled through video after video. Tiffany humiliating an elderly man for his outdated suit, mocking a young mother for her yoga pants, laughing at a teenager's acne. Dozens of videos, each one crueler than the last, each one racking up hundreds of thousands of views. You've built an entire brand on bullying, Agent Martinez said quietly. Do you understand that? You're 15 years old, and your claim to fame is making people feel terrible about themselves. Tears started forming in Tiffany's eyes. Not because she felt sorry for her victims, not yet, but because she was finally understanding the magnitude of her mistake. This wasn't just another target she could mock and move on from. This was an FBI agent who could actually do something about her behavior. Mall security arrived, two officers who immediately recognized Agent Martinez and deferred to her authority. Behind them came a tall man in a suit who introduced himself as the mall's general manager. Agent Martinez, we received your call. We've been documenting this group's activities. They've harassed at least 7 different shoppers in the past month. We've been trying to identify them to ban them from the property. Tiffany's friends looked at each other in horror. Banned from the mall? This was their hangout spot, their content creation location, their entire social scene. The manager continued, pulling out his tablet to show multiple security camera angles. Here they are, mocking a disabled veteran. Here they're laughing at a woman's weight. Here they're surrounding a teenage boy and commenting on his clothes until he ran away crying. Each video was worse than the last. Watching from outside her own perspective, Tiffany saw what she really looked like. Not cool or funny or edgy, just cruel. Just a bully with a camera and an audience that enabled her worst instincts. Agent Martinez watched Tiffany's face as she processed everything. Here's what's going to happen. The mall is pressing trespass charges. You and your friends are permanently banned from this property. As for the federal side, I'm going to have a conversation with your parents and with juvenile services about your online behavior. Cyberbullying is taken very seriously, especially when it targets vulnerable populations like the disabled veteran you harassed. But I'm just a kid, Tiffany protested, tears flowing now. I didn't mean anything by it. It was just for fun. Just a kid? Agent Martinez's voice was sharp. The boy you made cry was just a kid too. 12 years old, autistic, struggling with social situations, and you surrounded him and mocked him until he had a panic attack. His mother filed a police report. That fun you had gave a child nightmares. Tiffany felt like she might throw up. She didn't remember that incident specifically. It was just another video, another target, another bunch of likes and comments. She'd never thought about what happened after the camera stopped rolling. The mall manager pulled up the video Tiffany had made of that incident. In it, she could hear herself laughing as the boy started crying, could see herself zooming in on his face as he broke down, could hear her friends making jokes about him needing his mommy. "I didn't know," Tiffany whispered. "I didn't know he was autistic." Would it have mattered? Agent Martinez asked. If he wasn't autistic, would it have been okay to treat him that way? What about the elderly veteran, the young mother, me? What made any of us acceptable targets? Tiffany had no answer. She'd never thought about it. People were just content opportunities. If they looked different, or dressed differently, or acted differently, they were fair game. That's what the internet had taught her. That's what her followers encouraged. Agent Martinez pulled out a business card and handed it to the mall manager. "I want copies of all security footage involving these girls. I'm building a case file. And I want contact information for every victim they've harassed who might want to file formal complaints." She turned back to Tiffany and her friends. "As for you four, sit down and don't move. Your parents are being called. You're going to wait right here until they arrive." The next hour was the longest of Tiffany's life. Her friends sat in miserable silence, occasionally crying. Security officers stood nearby, making sure they didn't leave. Other shoppers walked by, some recognizing them from their videos, most looking at them with disgust. Tiffany's live stream had ended when she'd lowered her phone, but the damage was done. The clip was already going viral. People were sharing it across every platform. Her follower count was plummeting. Comments ranged from people celebrating her downfall to others calling for legal action. One comment stood out from someone claiming to be the mother of the autistic boy. "Thank you, Agent Martinez. My son has been afraid to leave the house since these girls attacked him. Maybe now he'll get justice." Tiffany read that comment over and over, each time feeling worse. She'd done that. She'd made a child afraid to leave his house. For content. For likes. For validation from strangers on the internet. Agent Martinez returned with coffee for the security officers and continued working on her phone, documenting everything. Occasionally, she'd glance at Tiffany and her friends, but mostly she just looked disappointed rather than angry. "Why are you doing this?" Tiffany finally asked, her voice small. "You could have just told us to go away. You didn't have to make it this big." Agent Martinez looked up from her phone, her expression serious. "Do you know what I do for the FBI, Tiffany? I work in the cyber crime division. Part of my job is tracking online harassment and bullying, especially when it targets minors or vulnerable populations. I've seen cases where cyberbullying led to suicide. I've investigated situations where online mocking escalated to physical violence. I've watched kids destroy their lives because nobody stopped them soon enough." She leaned forward, making direct eye contact with Tiffany. "You think this is big? This is small. This is me stopping you before you hurt someone so badly that they hurt themselves. This is me intervening before you cross a line that lands you in actual federal court with actual federal charges. This is me being merciful, even though you showed no mercy to your victims." Tiffany's mother arrived first, her heels clicking sharply against the mall floor. Elizabeth Chen was a formidable woman, a senior partner at a prestigious law firm, used to being the smartest person in any room. But when she saw Agent Martinez's badge and heard what her daughter had done, even she looked shaken. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Special Agent Rebecca Martinez. Your daughter has been harassing people at this mall and documenting it online. The mall is pressing charges for trespassing. I'm recommending additional charges for cyberbullying and harassment." Elizabeth Chen closed her eyes briefly, then opened them with a steely expression. What do you need from us? Your daughter's phone. All her devices. I need access to her accounts to identify all potential victims. And I need you to understand that this isn't going away. This is serious. Tiffany's mother held out her hand. Tiffany, give me your phone, now. But Mom, all my content... Your content is evidence in a criminal case. Give me the phone. With shaking hands, Tiffany handed over her phone. Her entire social media empire, her identity, her connection to the world, gone in an instant. The other parents arrived in succession, each reacting with various degrees of anger and horror. Morgan's father, a prominent businessman, tried to argue that this was blown out of proportion until Agent Martinez showed him the video of the autistic boy. He went silent immediately. Ashley's mother started crying, apologizing profusely to Agent Martinez and everyone else. The third girl's parents looked more angry at the situation than at their daughter, already talking about lawyers and making excuses, until the mall manager mentioned the multiple harassment complaints and permanent ban. Agent Martinez gathered all the parents and teens together. Here's what happens next. These girls are banned from this mall permanently. They're required to delete all their bullying content. They'll be attending a youth intervention program focused on cyberbullying. They'll be writing apology letters to every single person they've harassed, and those letters will be reviewed by juvenile services. And if we refuse? Morgan's father asked. Then I file formal charges with the U.S. Attorney's Office. Cyberbullying, harassment, potentially hate crimes if we determine any victims were targeted based on protected characteristics. Your daughters are minors, but these are federal offenses. The records might be sealed, but the consequences are real. Elizabeth Chen spoke up, her lawyer voice firm. We'll comply, completely. And I'll be having extensive conversations with my daughter about her behavior and choices. The other parents nodded agreement, even Morgan's father, who finally seemed to understand the seriousness. Agent Martinez looked at Tiffany directly. I want you to understand something. I'm not doing this to ruin your life. I'm doing this to save it. Right now, you're 15. You have time to change, to become better. But if you'd continued down this path, in a few years, you'd be an adult. And adult charges are very different from juvenile interventions. She pulled out her phone and showed Tiffany a news article about a young woman who'd been sentenced to prison for cyberbullying that led to a suicide. That's what happens when this behavior continues. That young woman thought it was just fun too. Until a girl killed herself because of the constant harassment. Now she's serving 3 years in federal prison. Tiffany felt bile rise in her throat. That could have been her. If she'd pushed someone too far, if her mockery had broken someone already struggling, that could have been her going to prison. I don't want to be that person, Tiffany whispered. Then don't be, Agent Martinez said simply. Change. Actually change. Not just because you got caught, but because you understand why what you did was wrong. Use your platform for good instead of harm. Or better yet, get off social media for a while and learn who you are without the validation of strangers. The meeting broke up shortly after. Tiffany rode home in silence with her mother, who didn't speak to her the entire drive. When they got home, Elizabeth Chen finally looked at her daughter. I am so disappointed in you. Not just for what you did, but because I raised you better than this. Or, at least I thought I did. Mom, I'm sorry. You're not sorry yet. You're scared. There's a difference. But you will be sorry. You're going to write apology letters to every person you hurt. Real apologies, taking responsibility. You're going to volunteer with organizations that help cyberbullying victims. You're going to learn what it feels like to be on the receiving end of cruelty. How am I supposed to do that? Elizabeth Chen's smile was cold. I'm enrolling you in a new school. Public school. No. Designer clothes. No special treatment. No social media. You're going to learn what it's like to be normal, to be the kind of person you used to mock. Tiffany felt her world collapse. No social media? Public school? Being normal? That wasn't punishment. That was torture. But as weeks passed, something unexpected happened. Without the constant pressure to create content, without the need to find targets and get likes and maintain her influencer status, Tiffany started to relax. She made a friend, a quiet girl named Sarah who loved books and didn't care about brands or followers. In her court-mandated counseling, Tiffany learned about empathy, really learned it, not just the concept, but the practice. She wrote her apology letters, and some victims wrote back. The autistic boy's mother sent a message saying that while the damage was done, she appreciated the apology and hoped Tiffany had learned something. 6 months after the mall incident, Tiffany was sitting in a youth center, mentoring younger kids about the dangers of cyberbullying. Agent Martinez walked in, no longer in her casual clothes, but in a professional suit, clearly there on official business. Miss Chen. Tiffany stood up quickly. Agent Martinez, I didn't know you'd be here. I volunteer here sometimes. Talk to kids about online safety and the consequences of cyberbullying. I heard you were speaking today. Yeah, I've been working with the program coordinator, sharing my story, trying to help other kids not make my mistakes. Agent Martinez smiled, and it was genuine. I watched one of your videos. The apology one you posted before shutting down your account. Tiffany winced. That video had been hard to make. No filters, no editing, just her face and her words, owning every terrible thing she'd done. I know it doesn't fix anything, Tiffany said quietly. I know I can't undo the hurt I caused, but I'm trying to be better. That's all anyone can do. Keep trying. Keep being better. Agent Martinez reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. The boy you harassed, the autistic 12-year-old, his mother asked me to give this to you. Tiffany opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside was a drawing, clearly made by a child. It showed 2 stick figures, one with a speech bubble saying, I'm sorry, and another saying, I forgive you. At the bottom, in careful handwriting, thank you for saying sorry. It helped. Marcus Tiffany felt tears streaming down her face. He forgave me. After everything, he forgave me. That's the thing about people, Agent Martinez said softly. They're more resilient and kind than we give them credit for. But that doesn't mean we get to test that resilience by hurting them. It means we should honor it by being better. As Tiffany stood there, holding that simple drawing, she understood finally what Agent Martinez had been trying to teach her in the mall that day. People weren't content. They weren't targets. They were human beings with feelings and struggles and lives that mattered just as much as hers did. The entitled kid who'd mocked an FBI agent was gone. In her place stood someone who was learning, slowly but surely, what it meant to be kind, to be empathetic, to be better. And for the first time since that terrible day at the mall, Tiffany felt something like hope.